First off, I'd like to welcome our viewers from C-SPAN and from our live web stream. My name is Lauren Sirocco, and I'm an intern with Young America's Foundation. Young America's Foundation is the premier organization that educates students on the principles of limited government, individual liberty, a strong national defense, and traditional values. For more information, please call 1-800-USA-1776 or visit our website at www.yaf.org. What do Barack Obama and Ann Coulter have in common? Nothing. Thank God. Ann Coulter is now the author of 7 New York Times best-selling books, and I'm sure there will be many more to come. Ms. Coulter is a Connecticut native and graduated with honors from Cornell University. And no, Mr. Olbermann, not the same school you attended. She then went on to practice law in New York City and even worked for the Senate Judiciary Committee. The conservative movement is so lucky to have such an intelligent, articulate, and not to mention extremely good-looking woman fighting alongside of us. She is also a woman who truly needs no introduction. So with that being said, I'm going to turn the microphone over to the person you've all been waiting for, Ms. Ann Coulter.
Very kind. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank YAF for bringing me here and sending me to many of your colleges. College speeches are a lot of fun. And I especially would like to thank the pharmaceutical industry for putting together a fake audience for me of such attractive people. They're very well dressed. So in only 7 months in office, President Obama has created a $1 trillion deficit, quadrupled the national debt, and driven up the unemployment numbers to the highest they've been in a quarter century. Because of the way they keep the unemployment numbers, by some measures, unemployment is as high as it's been since the Great Depression, or as economists are now calling it, the first Great Depression. So apparently President Obama not only wants to be the first black president, he wants to be the only black president. On the bright side, Obama has proved that regardless of race, color, national origin, any ballerina can grow up to be White House Chief of Staff. He's already reduced we have a Rahm Emanuel fan in the audience. He's already reduced gridlock and red tape by not requiring members of Congress to read legislation before voting on it. So that's really smoothed things through. Apparently, though, Obama misspoke when he said there would be no lobbyists in his administration. I'm fairly certain he meant to say there would be only lobbyists in his administration. He cemented his reputation as the first hip president by going on national TV and making a cutting-edge joke about the Special Olympics. I think he'd be more sensitive to that with Joe Biden as his vice president. He also showed us what he meant by the first post-racial president by racially profiling an Irish cop as stupid. You could not ask for a more perfect illustration of my last book, Guilty, Liberal Victims and Their Assault on America, than the black president of the United States attacking a powerless white cop for arresting a black Harvard professor in a city with a black mayor located in a state with a black governor. Everybody wants to be a victim. By which I mean perpetrator. Liberals have perfected the art of playing victim in order to oppress others. And because victimology is all a liberal fake-out, you can never figure out who the victim is, who's the offended one, what the offense is, unless you know who did what to whom and whose side the most powerful people in America will take, and who will direct the Lifetime TV for Women made-for-TV movie about the incident. Take the use of a politician's middle name. To choose an example totally at random of no particular interest to me, when Republicans nominated a vice presidential candidate with the middle name Danforth in 1988, they were accused of being deliberately provocative and obtuse. The pretentious liberal bore, Calvin Trillin, wrote a snippy column in New York Newsday at the time saying, oh, Bush should have asked him what his middle name is. And he said that by nominating a vice presidential candidate named J. Danforth Quayle, Republicans were blind to how this reinforced the image of Republicans as the party of the rich, in as much as it sounded like a pompous rich banker. Who is this guy Trillin? Is he a black sharecropper? As I recall, he's a Yale man. Only liberals can walk around in their Yale sweaters with names like Calvin Marshall Trillin and claim to be offended by the name Danforth. By the way, on Trillin's theory, Bill Clinton, whose middle name was Jefferson, should have had a mistress who was black. And we know how wrong that was. She was Jewish. Speaking of middle names that reinforce negative stereotypes, wouldn't the Democrats nominating a presidential candidate with the middle name Hussein reinforce the idea of the Democrats as being soft on terrorism? Why, yes, Ann, I think it would. But when Republicans run a candidate whose name is funny to Democrats, it shows the obtuseness and offensiveness of Republicans. When Democrats run a candidate with a middle name that's funny to Republicans, well, it's a hate crime to mention it. They spat out J. Danforth Quayle as if it would foreshadow the unspeakable horrors Quayle would visit on this country as vice president, such as the time he hit a double bogey at Augusta. At least when Republicans said Hussein, we were laughing. But the important point is, either way, Democrats are the victims, Republicans are the oppressors. They're either victims of the middle name Danforth, which upsets them, or they're offended because we find the middle name Hussein hilarious. He who was offended first wins. And liberals are always offended. The U.S. Marines' unofficial motto is first to fight. The liberals' unofficial motto is first to be offended. The media's gone from being offended at Bush for, I don't know, breathing, to being offended at the tiniest criticism of their darling Obama. It's good to see the media transitioning into their aggressive watchdog role since Obama has become president. Overnight, they went from being the people's watchdogs to being the government's guard dog, except Heath Overman and Chris Matthews, who are the government's lapdogs. Time magazine got the ball rolling by comparing Obama to Jesus Christ. So I lost a bet. They do know who Jesus is. Of course. Of course, as leader of the 12 apostles, even Jesus had more executive experience than Obama did. And under Obama, they'd be the 12 redemption czars. They really did compare Obama to Jesus Christ, which marks the first time the mainstream media was not worried about offending Muslims. Apparently, liberals don't mind carpenters. It's plumbers they hate. The Jesus analogy first ran in a Time magazine cover story by Nancy Gibbs. And keep in mind, this was Time magazine's hatchet piece on Obama. The article began, "Some princes are born in palaces, some are born in mangers, but a few are born in the imagination, out of scraps of history and hope." Translation, the Democrats finally won an election. Congratulations, Democrats. Though, to be fair, Democrats winning an election like the virgin birth is something of a miracle.